Welcome, 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 everybody. It is Sunday, April 5th, 2026, noon p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, or whatever time it happens to be where you are, because you are watching us right now. It is time for The Master's Mind. And we are just so glad to have you with us on this Easter Sunday. And we know, of course, with Master's Mind, we must have a special message. Great way to end the previous week and to start the new week. And of course, without further ado, allow me to introduce our GPSs to success, our mentors and dear friends. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Terry and Robert Hollis.
Hola. Thank you, ZJ, hostess with the mostest. Hi, Melody. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Shelly. Hi, Fahad. Hi, Arthur. And hi, Dustin. And happy Easter for those of you that celebrate it. Happy Rabbit's Day. Oh my God. How many, what day is it for you?
Happy Rabbit's Day.
Happy Rabbit's Day. We got all these neat days, and of course, Passover was just recently. Sometimes Passover lands. I think last year Passover landed on Easter Day, which was pretty awesome. And so, what I want to share with you guys is probably something that you probably wouldn't get on a normal Easter message. Because if you could go as far as you go, it's like to me, it's like, Mary, his mom went to the tomb, the stone was moved, and he's not there. So the concept of he's risen and he's alive is one of those things that I think if I just said in one word, if I asked every one of you to say what this means, it's not only a celebration with family, usually like Thanksgiving, but one of the things I want to say to everyone is that if I asked you to write your definition of hope, what is the energy, the feeling of hope? Because I do know what the definition for each and every one of us, it's easy to explain what hopelessness is. Despair and not having hope. So there's this constant theme that we go through all the time. And I know that a lot of people are going to freak out probably when I go this direction, or maybe you guys won't. But do you guys realize that if you thought about movies, if you thought about TV, I was telling Terry with, watching soap operas, right? If you thought of any stories, do you realize that there's this theme where maybe a major character dies? And so I remember my son's coming back, from the Marvel, what was it called? The Endgame or something like that from Marvel.
Yeah, Endgame was was one of the biggest Marvel Universe movies.
Okay, so when you find out that Iron Man died, right? Okay, or Wolverine died, and now you show up to the next movie and you find out they're alive. What do you think that does to the people that believe in the movie? Does it make them feel bad, or does it make them feel, oh my God, Wolverine is not dead. Iron Man is not dead. So you got all these movies. There was even a part where in Star Wars that Luke Skywalker thought his father no longer lived. But yet he wouldn't stop looking for him. And then he does find out who his father is, and it's not so good. But what I want each and every one of you to think when you see people that, again, I always say there's three groups of people. And, there's people that, are optimists. There's people that are pessimists. And then there's people that just seem to stay neutral. And if there's anything that I would want for people is I'd want them to have hope. I'd want them to have love, and I'd want them to have peace, right? So when people all of a sudden get confronted with the story of Jesus, and it's like, well, listen, he was crucified and he died, then he was put in a tomb, and then he rose again. Well, then people go, okay, what do you mean rose again? Well, he was no longer in the tomb. But then when Mary first seen Jesus, she didn't recognize him. Neither did the disciples until he spoke. And when they spoke, they had this feeling, some people call it the Holy Spirit, the comforter, and now they know that that spirit is alive. So if I said this to all of you, is that when something doesn't seem like it is and then it's back, like when I bring up, I was telling Terry, because she used to watch stories all the time, TV, what do they call? Daytime. Soap operas. And, every once in a while I would catch one of the ones she was watching. And it's like, well, like everyone on the cast dies in a plane wreck. But after they die in the plane wreck, what do you think the whole audience is hoping? Or they get in a car wreck, or they get kidnapped. Nancy, Savannah's mom, right? So where's Nancy? Do you think there's a large group of people out there that are hoping she's still alive? And just recently, there was a girl she was taken at the age of 9. She's now 32 and they found her. That was just on the news. So when people are missing somebody or they're no longer living, people get this hope about them, right? So what would be a hope of a story like Jesus's? I'll tell you, it's like, wow, if God could raise him from the dead, and now he's in the ether, then maybe some of the people that I love are also in that ether, or heaven. And then if I believe, then when I die, I got another life in heaven, and I get to be with the people that I love and miss. What's awful about that story? Because you got this in Harry Potter, you got this in every theme of everything out there. There's people that disappear or get hurt, and the newest one that Terry and I were just watching, the 9 kingdoms or the 7 kingdoms or whatever. Why is it that when someone gets in a fight, especially in medieval times, and they really get stabbed bad enough to what? Not make it? Then you're just waiting for the next episode, and you're just hoping that they pull out of it, right? And so my whole point when people look at it is, you guys have heard me say this before, I would rather be of the class of people that are for something instead of against something. So if I'm for something that I believe, hope, peace, love, if I'm in hope for that, I don't think of you regardless of what you believe and think that you don't have hope. So that's why it's easy for me to get along with anybody that has any view, because I know the view for them is unique. Me and Craig were just talking before we get on here, and Craig, growing up Jewish. And if I sat down with Craig and Sue and Terry and I, and we all sat down for a meal, and we're at the Cheesecake Factory, and Sue says, man, I'm going to get my favorite dessert. And Craig goes, me too. And Terry goes, me too. I don't spend the rest of my time trying to convince those three to change their decision to my favorite dessert. Why? Because I want them to enjoy the meal. I want them to be happy. Why wouldn't I want them to have their belief in what their dessert is instead of telling them, well, to be brutally honest with you, yeah, I think my dessert is the best dessert. And so we win people over by our example of our love, of our peace, and our hope. The way that you can win anyone to your belief is by living the example. Living in an example where people look at you and by their fruit you shall know me. And so that's what Jesus did. Jesus did his very best. For those of you that know, the night before Passover, the night before he was crucified, he not only has a big dinner with a bunch of people that he knows is going to betray him. And all of them look at him and go, I'll never betray you. I'll die before denying you. And he looks at his favorite disciple, his number one disciple, and goes, are you kidding me? You'll tell people you don't know me 3 times before morning when the crow crows. You say you love me. I know you're dedicated. But when it comes down to whether you die or not, you're going to say you don't know me. And so to sit down and have a dinner, but what he also did is he washed their feet. So you sit down with people that you know they're not going to be there for you, and one of them is actually turning you over to make sure that you die, and you wash their feet. I don't know. That gives me a little bit of hope when it says that you're supposed to love your enemies. And when you watch on TV today and social media today, the only thing that a lot of people are teaching people how to do is if you don't pick my side, then you're a piece of garbage, you're evil. And what I'm going to do is spend most of my time all day, every day, hating on people. I don't think that was his message. And so that's sort of what I wanted to share. And again, you guys know me. I'm simple. I'm direct to the point. So, there's people out there right now that have sent me messages saying, Happy Easter. How do I respond to them? Thank you. Happy Easter. Then there's people that have reached out to me just like they always have. And they go, good morning and Happy New Day. How do I reply to them? Thank you. Great morning. Happy New Day. Why am I bringing this up? It's just like the dessert deal. Someone doesn't send me happy day, and then I send them a graphic. He is risen and Jesus is alive. Ollie sent me, like Fahad, Ollie sent me, a happy Easter. This is not my time to say that it's not about eggs and rabbits. See what I mean? It's like, you got these people that are like the grammar police. They feel like it's their goal that when you do something nice, that you didn't do it nice enough. You guys hear what I'm saying? That if you apologize, you didn't apologize enough.
One time.
Huh?
One time.
Yeah, one time. Yeah. And that was the core message that I wanted to share with each and every one of you. I pray, even for those of you that don't pray, that you just keep leaning into your uniqueness, being a miracle, to have the very best relationship with whatever you think that is. Me and my wife has talked about this many, many, many times. And if she wants to call it force, if she wants to call it source, if she wants to call it universe, I'd rather have her be optimistic and plugging into something she believes instead of telling her she's wrong. Because why would I want to tell her if she's wrong if I personally, in my relationship, can honestly admit that I do not know? So you guys will see a lot of my messages are, what can I say or do to get them to lean in to more hope, more love, more peace? What can I do to get them to lean into that? Like Mother Teresa said, so people are handing her all kinds of protest sign and like, when are you going to protest against the No Kings rally and the war and, ICE? When are you going to protest against all this stuff? And she's like, as soon as you guys have a rally, not a protest, as soon as you have a rally for love and peace, let me know. I want to be for something good, not against something and make it hateful. Division, device, destroy. It's like, hey, I'm just not aware of the people that, some of the people's names that will go down in history are going to be the people that are consistently were, because Craig and I always about love and peace. Craig and I have talked about, Jesus and because he's a Jew, and it's like, listen, if you guys don't think that he was a straightforward rebel, you know what I mean? He was going against the powers that had traditional laws set in stone that came from Moses. So if someone, was an adulteress, that was one of the 10. So you needed to be dragged in the street and stoned to death. And Jesus says, hey, listen, if none of you have sinned, you can cast the first stone. Well, then all his followers go, I don't think that you're supposed to be protecting a whore or a prostitute on Sabbath. Like, why are you working on the Sabbath? When you protect someone and there's not any time. Yeah, but you didn't wash your hands. Why are you touching a prostitute? Why are you allowing a prostitute to touch you? Yeah, he was, and so, like that, I talk about the Passion of the Christ when I rewatched it. It was like the leaders of that time that were from the Jewish belief, without a shadow of a doubt, wanted this guy gone. He was causing all the other people to think about uniqueness. And that wasn't very good. So it's like, so that's what I wanted to say. But I wanted to leave you guys with, you have anything to add? I'm always going to ask. So what I'm going to do is leave you guys with, I seen this on Facebook, but it was a person that was sharing it and a pastor talking about this Lion King. Some of you already have seen it because I sent it to you. But I want each and every one of you to sort of pay attention to this. And I'll say a couple of words and then we'll be gone and I'll let you get back to your family if you celebrate this day. So, Craig?
Here, ever seen The Lion King? I'm just curious though, does anybody in here remember the Stampede? You remember the Stampede? It's the saddest moment, not just in the history of Disney, but really in the history of film. And what we see is that there's this moment where Mufasa starts to recognize that his son Simba is trapped in a gorge where these wildebeests are stampeding. And as this happens, Mufasa runs to the edge of the cliff and he jumps into the stampede to save his son Simba, which he does so successfully, but at the expense of his own life. And so after all of the wildebeests clear out of the gorge, you see that there's this moment where finally little Simba can go running back in the gorge and he's looking for his father and he sees Mufasa's lifeless body lying there and he's pushing on Mufasa's body and he's like, get up, Dad, get up. And Mufasa's just not getting up. And so now Simba's crying, I'm crying, the hearts of a generation are weeping that we're finding ourselves in this moment that is just catastrophic, traumatic. Therapists are profiting off of this moment in our lives. And so we find ourselves just realizing, I don't know what to do with this. Simba finds himself in the midst of the darkest hour of his life. And what happens in the middle of Simba's darkest and messiest moment is something that will often happen to you and I, that an enemy swoops into the gorge and gets right down on his level and says, hey, this is bad, Simba. This is bad. What are your friends gonna think? What's your mom gonna think? You can't come back from this. And Simba's panicked. He's like, I didn't mean for this to happen. He didn't know that this was set up by evil Uncle Scar. Simba doesn't know that. And so he's just kind of panicking, going, I don't know what to do from here. And what we see the enemy will say to Simba is what you often will feel like the enemy whispers to you in the messiest moments of your life. He says, run away, Simba. Run away and never return. And so he does. And does it look like it's not fun and terrible from that point moving forward? No, it's like the complete and total opposite of that. Like you see, Simba will end up linking up with his new boys, Timon and Pumbaa, Hakuna Matata. It's amazing. I mean, they even get him to go borderline vegan. They're eating beetles. They're walking on logs. They're singing songs, friends are friends forever. Like they find themselves with waterfalls and greenery, and it's like lush and beautiful paradise. It is amazing. And yet there's a moment where Simba realizes, I'm not walking in the calling and the purpose that my father spoke over my life. And in the middle of that, it's when you have that old wise sage Rafiki that comes and smacks a little sense into Simba. And he says, hey, your father's alive. And Simba's like, he's not, he's really not. It's like a super traumatic moment for me. I can assure you that's not a thing. And he's like, yes, he is. I'll show him to you. And so he ends up bringing Simba to a pool of water. And he says, look down there. And Simba looks into the pool of water and is like, no, it's just my reflection. And Rafiki says, no, look hard. Right? And Simba sees bubbling up within his own reflection is his father's reflection. And what Rafiki says to Simba is what I'm trying to say to you. He says, you see, he lives in you. I don't know what feels like it's the messiest moment of your life that's going to mark and define you for the rest of your life, but I can tell you this, that your Father who lives on the inside of you is greater than anything that's happened behind you, that the Holy Spirit that is dwelling with us is greater than any of the messes that are around us, that there is a beautiful, incredible work that God is doing there that marks and defines you above every other thing that you found yourself going through.
Pretty crazy. I think he had some cleanuses down there in the corner. How many of you love that? Right? And so regardless of what you believe about the crucifixion and the resurrection, you know, I just know on a science side of me, I don't know what this 80% of dark matter is. I don't know what this 80% of dark energy is. I just know that I know that I know, because I have hope and optimism and love and belief, is I just know whatever energy's in the world and the universe is also in me. And I wish that each and every one of you knew that. And so when you know that energy, that you can tap into that energy and never ever be alone, always feel loved, always feel protected, and also know that, anything is possible. Anything is possible through those that believe. So it's all about this concept of hope, peace, and love. Because that's what you should see in you, is what other people have done, right? So for some of you that are not Bible people, here's one thing that Jesus said, over and over again, that based on your belief and faith that I know that you can do more than I did. So Jesus wasn't the only person that was dead and then rose again. It's still being used in themes. It's still being used in Marvel movies. It's still being used in everything, that when a person that has optimism, hope, love, peace, and fighting for mankind and fighting for people that are less than him, are less than her, is that when this kind of energy and power gets diminished, we want it back. We want it back. We want that superhero back. And so if there's a way for you to believe that it's not up there sitting on a throne someplace next to his Father, but through the Holy Spirit, if you can believe that it's in you, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I have the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my. It's like there's this group of people that walk around with so much love, so much peace, and so much hope that I would believe that you'd want to be one of those instead of the person that's consistently dividing, hating, pessimist. Does that make sense to everyone? So that's my message for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great weekend with you and your family, a great Sunday. I love and appreciate you. And yeah, share this with other people because I know that sometimes, the message gets, my way or the highway. And, I think that you should have peace and joy and love for someone and lead by example. So they want to go, what's that stuff you talk about? How am I supposed to get that ether thing? How am I supposed to be able to tap into the infinite wisdom? You know, uh, it was baby steps for me, and it should be baby steps for you. All right. I love you guys, and I appreciate you. Thanks for jumping on. Star and Scott and Deborah, Dustin, Arthur, Fahad, Shelly, Lisa Marie, Melody, Jim, Tom. Thank you for jumping on. Sandy, Terry, and ZJ. And I seen Matthew just jumped on. So I hope you guys have a great time with your family. I love you. Talk to you soon. Bye.